When it rains, it pours. When it rains, it pours. Look, y'all, how much more frustrated could you be as a Ravens fan right now? 1-3. 1-3. You got injuries all over the place, right? You're already coming off a blowout loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, where the Ravens just didn't even look like they was even on the same field as that team. And you got injuries all over the place. Marlon was hurt. Now Nevada BK was hurt going into the game. Of course, Kyle Van was hurt going into the game. Nate Wiggins got hurt in this game. And it's just like, can it get any worse? And then, of course, you hear now Nevada BK is out for the season on a team that already couldn't defend the run to begin with. Okay, cool. Fine. Then you hear Lamar Jackson stats for the 3 weeks. Look, y'all, this is crazy. This is crazy, right? This is crazy. There's not so much level of frustration you can have. Like, literally, when the news dropped, I'm like, you have to be kidding me, right? Like, I don't even think I could be frustrated. It's like you laugh and keep from crying, because it's like, what? How are we 1-3? How do we get bounced by the Chiefs after getting bounced by the Lions? The defense looks out of sorts, undisciplined, awful. The offense looks bad. The offense looks like they have no momentum, no rhythm, no identity. Now they made a BK's out for the year, so the defense just got worse from a talent perspective. And then Lamar Jackson's out for 2-3 weeks. I'm hoping the 2. I'm hoping that it's only 2. And the thing is, it's kind of, well, it'll probably be 3. Like, if we're going to be honest, because the Ravens have the Texans, then the Rams, then the bye week. So it'll probably be 3. He'll be out for 3 weeks. But how they survive that, I don't know. I think the only caveat is that the Texans aren't playing well, haven't been playing well this whole entire season. So you may have an opportunity, especially if you lean in on Derrick Henry. We know, all of us know how this offense is going to run with Cooper Rush, right? They're gonna somehow find an offensive identity. They're gonna lean into Derrick Henry. They're gonna play the quick game because they know their offensive line isn't good. We know how this is going to go. Watch, the entire playbook is going to change. We know how this goes. And if it does, I'm going to be honest with y'all. If it does, Greg Roman's play calling was not to blame. If we see, now look, obviously I hope and I pray that the Ravens win this game against the Texans because they need it, right? But if we do indeed see the play calling change, that's another indictment on John Harbaugh. Because now you got 2 coordinators that for some reason changed their play calling when the quarterback changed to adjust for the new quarterback, but couldn't for their MVP quarterback. Put their MVP quarterback in a situation where it was like, we just going to let you make a play. That's another indictment on John Harbaugh. But we'll have that conversation after the game. But look, first things first, the hamstring injury, I think it was a strain. I know a lot of the hardcore football people would say, well, why don't you just play through it, right? It's the same thing I feel about the bone bruise. It's the same thing I feel about some of these, some of the other, at least the nagging injuries that he's had. And I mean, really, the only two injuries that had him, it's going to have him miss significant time is this one and the bone bruise. But I think people forget. Lamar Jackson can't not be healthy. I mean, is anybody healthy in the NFL? No. But Lamar Jackson, for darn sure, with the offensive lines that he's had in the past, cannot be less than 90% and be expected to play at MVP caliber level, be expected to bail this team out time and time again. It can't happen. It can't happen. So realistically, if Lamar Jackson is injured, and he was so injured to the point where he couldn't even finish the game, then he's got to miss all all 3 weeks. He has to, right? Because he cannot go out there behind that offensive line and try to make ridiculous plays before he's ready. We know what he's going to do. We know he's going to do it. But I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't expect Lamar Jackson for the next 3 weeks. I just don't. Right? I just don't. That leaves us playing the Texans and the Rams. Right? And interestingly enough, from watching diving a little deeper more into the Chiefs Ravens game, and you kind of see parallels between that game and Detroit and how things were played and how they kind of, they're attacking our weak points, which I don't blame them. Everybody in the league knows we got 2 weak guards and right now weak right tackle. And shout out to all 22 NFL Films who pointed this out. Ronnie Stanley, he went out of the game, right? He went out of the game. So something's up with him. And he was dragging a little bit. Dragging his right leg, but dragging in general. He was dragging a little bit. So what that means is this offensive line is even worse. And they're hurt. And it's kind of interesting, y'all. And we see it on both ends of the ball. There's no discipline with this team. There's no identity with this team on either side of the football right now. You would expect if you got a bad offensive line, you would expect to lean on Derrick Henry because Derrick Henry gonna make plays after contact anyway. You would expect to lean on Derrick Henry. You probably have to force yourself to run left, but lean on Derrick Henry and build your pass game off of it. You would expect to really have to be kind of creative on how you blitz people because you're not getting pass rush on the defensive end. And that's what I'm seeing, right? Offensively, I see a lack of identity. I see the fact that they're going for home run plays when they don't have the offensive line built for home run plays. So why they're calling those plays, I'll never understand. And that could be on Lamar because I know he has a little bit more control over the offense. But obviously, Todd Monken is giving him at least a set of plays to run, right? So that's another part of it. Like, why do the Ravens act like they're down 15 when they're down by 3? Like that can't happen. That can't happen, y'all. Like it's ridiculous. But that's kind of what I've been seeing offensively. It's like people are attacking our offensive line, and the blitz has always been a problem, but even more so now, the blitz is a problem because Faalele looks lost. Faalele looks like a ballerina in most occasions, and not in a good way, in terms of being on his toes and knocking people around. And both sides of the ball in the trenches are getting completely dominated, just thrown around, pushed around as if they're nothing, and that's a problem too. So, like I said, offensively, no identity. Still no discipline because we talking about penalties too. We talking about delay of games. We talking about getting the play in late again, which, once again, could be another indictment on John Harbaugh. Because why is it that you've had 2 coordinators now that had the same issue? But, of course, when asked about it, not that he has been, but when asked about it, you have nothing to say. You don't know why that's happening. You don't understand why that's going on. But anyway. So, very interesting, y'all. Now, defensively, you have no elite pass rushers. I expected more from Mike Green. I was wrong. I expected more from Mike Green. It's not working so far. And missing Kyle Van Noy has been one of the biggest things. One of the biggest issues for this defense, I feel like. Now, no Nnamdi Madubuike, even worse. But even just in the Chiefs game, with no Nnamdi Madubuike, so there's no true interior push. Miscommunication all over the place. And the crazy part is, you can see, like, I feel like the coverage is fine. I feel like the problem is lack of pressure. If you finally do get pressure, you let guys escape. It's not working. Right? It's not working. Zach Orr's got, He's got to make some adjustments. He's got to. Zach Orr has to make some adjustments. And my fear is I don't know if he knows what adjustments to make. Right? He's still a young defensive coordinator. And I honestly don't know if Zach Orr knows what adjustments to make. I don't know if Zach Orr is the type of coach that can make those adjustments. I don't know if Zach Orr, for as talented as of a group as this group is, I think honestly the Ravens will be better with letting Dean Pease or Chuck Pagano run this defense. Because at least they're going to put guys in the proper positions to be successful. Zach Orr is simply not doing that right now. He's simply not doing it right now. It's not happening. All right. Back to the injury issues and how to move forward. So, that, like I said, this brings in Cooper Rush. Lamar Jackson injured for a couple weeks, brings in Cooper Rush. Like I said, I can guarantee you this offensive scheme is going to change. Number one, because Cooper Rush is not the same quarterback, and I get that. I can admit that, right? I can admit that provides obvious changes to what this offense can do. But the problem is this offense is going to change. Honestly, I'm going to be honest with y'all. They're probably going to look a hair better because they're going to be able to establish a little bit more of an identity because their identity isn't, all right, Lamar, go make a play. All right, Lamar, go make a play. All right, Lamar, look, offensive line's bad. That's all right, make a play. Guys aren't open. That's all right, make a play. We don't want to run the ball today. That's all right, go make a play. They're gonna Cooper Rush. They don't have to worry about that with Cooper Rush. Now, I expect them to exploit quick game, exploit getting the ball to Zay Flowers quickly and letting him do his thing. I expect them to get the ball to Bateman and let him scoop up first downs. Throwing the ball up high to Hopkins. I expect quick game this entire game. I expect screenplays. I expect a heavy dose of Derrick Henry. I would be surprised if the Ravens run the ball less than 30 times. Right? That was the old number. I don't know if it's still the new number. I'm honestly curious to go back and look in these last couple of hours. I'm gonna look real quick while we hanging out. All right. So let's see. So against the Chiefs. 17 carries, probably not enough. Against the Lions, 19 carries. I would say that's probably not enough. Only 12 from Derrick Henry. Justice Hill didn't get one carry in that game. Interestingly enough. Let's look at the Browns game. Browns game will be interesting. It might change my narrative. Browns game, you got you got 21 rushes, which is a higher scale for what the Ravens do. And I mean, maybe it could be possible. Like I said, I'll have to look into, and I might do it real quick right now, but I'll have to look into what the Ravens did last year because the whole 30 runs a game was under Greg Roman's scheme, right? So it's possible that that's old news now. But I mean, against the Bills, where obviously the offense was much better. I mean, you got 18 for Derrick Henry, 6 for Lamar. So 24, 25, 26 if you added Zay, 27, 28, 29. So, I mean, you're closer to that 30 mark, right? I think above 20, though, definitely, right? I think at this point, and let me just look real quick. I think at this point, the Ravens to win football games at this point, I think the Ravens have to run the ball at least 20 times. Let me think. Let me try to find a game real quick. That was where's that Bills game? That's what I want to see. Because obviously, things would have been established by then. 35-10. You probably would have been running the football for the simple fact of you up big. So I mean, Derrick Henry had 24 carries by himself. Lamar Jackson had 6. That's 30 right there. That's 34 carries because of Justice Hill's 4. Right? So I think the 30 carry thing still applies and still can apply, but I think it's got to be at least 22, 30 at this point. Now, let me look because I want to see like the Bengals game, right? Because y'all remember the Bengals game was a shootout. It was back and forth. Am I thinking of the right Bengals game? Oh, I didn't want to turn forward. Hold up. Give me 1 second here. Am I going the right way? Okay, here we go. So let me look at the Bengals game real quick. So this was y'all remember this, the 41-38 overtime victory for the Ravens, right? So Derrick Henry only had 15 carries that day. But 15 carries for Derrick Henry, 12 carries for Lamar Jackson. So that's 27, plus 5 for Justice Hill. So, I mean, just the main guys who run the ball, right? You got, I mean, that's over 30 right there, right? Because, like I said, that's 27 plus the 5 is 32. Like, that's over 30 right there. And I think, like, going back to establishing identity, even though Lamar Jackson had 300 yards passing and 4 passing TDs in that game, the Ravens got to get back to that. I mean, we can talk about that a little bit more. Like I said, that's something I might look into a little bit more, but that's always been kind of my narrative is like, the Ravens' lack of identity right now is the problem. I don't know why they're getting away from that, because I can promise y'all, and I don't really want to go on a tangent here, even though I know I am. I don't really want to go on a tangent, but I can promise y'all the Ravens probably didn't run the ball 30 times in the playoff game. Let's look. So in the playoff game against the Bills, I know they got down early, but I don't really care about that. Your identity is your identity. What's successful to you is successful to you. 16 carries for Derrick Henry, and then 6 carries for Justice Hill. So we got 24. And then 6 carries for Lamar Jackson, which is 30. Which, I mean, okay, so that's your usual suspects getting 30 carries. So this is one of those situations where I would probably say it was, it's kind of an outlier, right? You still rushed 30 times, but you didn't, do what you need to do. I mean, them other playoff games that we talked about before, obviously they got away from the run. And I mean, and there's other factors that played into that game too, drops and all that. We know, right? Drops at big moments, not being able to stop the Bills in big moments, stuff like that, right? We know these type of things. But anyway, regardless, I can promise y'all, back to the original point, that the offensive identity will return, right? The Ravens will lean in on this run game, and they will find their offensive identity. To be honest with y'all, I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. The Ravens might honestly be better for Lamar Jackson being injured. And I don't mean better as in long-term, I don't want Lamar Jackson in the game, because I know some people will take that out of context. What I really mean is they're going to find their identity and realize that they can still do that even with this offensive line, right? I mean, the offensive line has never really been that great. We can all admit that, right? We can all admit the offensive line has never really been that great. But Gus Edwards was an elite rusher for the Baltimore Ravens, right? J.K. Dobbins was an elite rusher for the Baltimore Ravens, right? I mean, we've seen other guys come in and make plays for the Baltimore Ravens. Melvin Gordon, right? Melvin Gordon. We've seen what Keaton Mitchell can do, even behind a bad offensive line. So, and I do think this offensive line is built to push forward and not fall back in terms of pass pro. Now, do they need to be able to do both? Yes, right? That's why the Bills are so good, right? That's honestly why the Bills are so good. That's why I'm changing my tone on the Bills, and I'm saying it on record right now for all of my people who think I hate the Bills. I think the Bills are really good, but I think it's because of their offensive line more than it is the talent around them, which that could be a whole other discussion for later. But I promise y'all, that's just what it is. But look, going into these games, and look, I'm gonna wrap up. What do the Ravens have to do to stay afloat in the next 3 weeks without Lamar Jackson? In the bye week, they'll be fine, right? In the bye week, they'll be fine. Okay. I'm more concerned about the Rams game than I am the Texans game. Not that the Texans can't go off, but I'm more so concerned about the Rams game because we know what that offense can do. And we know that offense can be practically unstoppable. And we know this defense is not there yet. I don't know if they will be there. But right now, we know for a fact they're not there. Right? So, establishing identity, playing time possession football, and by hook or by crook, they need to win both of these games. By hook or by crook, you got to go 1-1, right? If you are, what would that be? 2-4 by the time Lamar Jackson comes back, and you've reestablished your identity, and Lamar Jackson comes back healthy, and you know exactly what you need to do on offense, I think this offense can overcome this defense. Now, I know there's probably, like I said, I was talking about it before. I know the offensive line is bad. They're bad. Probably worse than they were last year. And this is the same crew. This same crew. You think they get better year after year. They don't. They didn't. All right. But I think establishing their offensive identity and leaning back into Derrick Henry will honestly help them. I really do. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Let me know below. Am I being too positive? I might be. I know I started off this video frustrated, and I came back to the positivity. But look, I think it can happen. We'll see. Honestly, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it plays. I'm definitely excited, y'all. I'm still excited to see what the Ravens are going to do. Obviously, I'm still going to be watching. I'm still going to be on here with y'all, hanging out like usual. But look, things went from bad to worse. The Ravens defense banged up. Ravens offense banged up. But there's still some things I think the Ravens can lean into, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about them. A little bit more in depth later on in the week, especially as we preview the Texans game. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about them, y'all. But look, y'all, definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. I definitely appreciate y'all as always. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. And look, y'all, what do y'all think? What do y'all think? Can the Ravens overcome this tough stretch? I thought the first 4 weeks of the season was going to be tough. This right here going to be the toughest stretch the Ravens have. This right here going to be the toughest stretch the Ravens have of the season. I promise y'all. I got more faith in the Ravens going on a run after the bye week than I do this 2-game stretch right here. I really do. We'll see. We'll see what happens, y'all. Look, I'll see you guys on the next episode of the Be More Show. Until next time, my friends, hope y'all enjoy. Until next time.